better late than never. I don't know. You ever have one of those days where you lose your phone and then this happens and then that happens, whatever, one of those days. So we are in the middle of moving and trying to sell our house. And as we've been going through this process, and as I've been doing the research for some of the classes that we have started today, just have a few random insights to share with you that I hope will be helpful for you. The first one is around for trends and seeking trends. An article on the tech trends from McKinsey. And, I love McKinsey. I love to follow their data. They always have fascinating graphics. Yeah, let me just pull this up for you because it is fun. They always go into the research and really look at what is going on and what do we need to know. But I loved the intro to this on their Twitter. So it was on Twitter that they had an intro that just said, we aren't into the trends for the trend's sake. We want to see what really is going to stick. And I find that to be so important for us in our space as we help people think about their careers, because it just isn't into the trends for right now, but also looking at what's in the future. So, crypto is really hot right now, and that's great. I haven't done my research around this, so I can't tell you, but will it be for the future? What does the future of that look like? That's something that I'd want to explore before I went down that road with a client. Brandon Mitchell with RightC is one of our sponsors for our symposium and one of our partners, and he does events that support the cannabis industry. And of course, they're talking about the long-term growth of that industry, just like alcohol and many other recreational opportunities that people participate in, as well as, of course, the medical side, medical benefits to cannabis. So no matter what you think about it politically, he's engaged in that industry and helping people get into that industry because of the long-term prospects. So it's one of those things when I think about trends that it can be interesting to get caught up in what's going on right now, but also then looking at the future and what does the long term of that look like. And I've had people ask me, what is the long-term prospects for the resume, and will the paper resume be around? And no, I don't think so. Will the resume be around in the form that we have right now? Probably not. However, we will always need to be helping people figure out how to tell their story, and they'll always need to know how to own that messaging for their story, whether eventually that's on their own page that's protected by blockchain technology, or whether it's a LinkedIn profile. It doesn't matter. They will need that help telling their story. And when we think about trends, going beyond what is trendy and really thinking about what is around for the long term. So I love that article. And again, it was kind of their lead in of the tweet of how we think about trends. And it isn't really just about trends. It's about how we stick to looking at what's coming in the future and what matters for us and for our clients. So then, as of course, we're trying to sell our house. And I was talking to some group today about their veterans that are transitioning and transitioning into other work. And we were talking about the importance of how things look. Now, we can get too caught up into this in some ways. I was talking to my digital branding group about how we need to not be so worried about, how we look on video and some things, professional, of course, and those types of things, although sometimes that's overrated, but also how a resume looks when it first comes across someone's computer. And if you are trying especially to dispel stereotypes for age or all types of different stereotypes that people might have, the modern look of a resume can really help with that. And it doesn't have to be overdone, doesn't have to be a Canva design, to just have that, good first impression. Of course, we've been working tirelessly over here at the Simonov household to make that happen when people first walk into our house, that they have that good first impression, and it's welcoming, as well as they can kind of see themselves in the home. So those are important, and we need to think about how that first impression is coming across in everything that we do. Today, I was specifically talking about it with someone about resumes. Then the last thing is negotiation. So you probably, if you're in the US, maybe in a similar market to us, where houses are going like hotcakes, if you will. But one of the things that I've noticed is that people don't tend to negotiate. And one of the trends that is different here in Utah than it was in Colorado, at least, is that people tend to list their house higher and then cut the price on a regular basis. My real estate agent in Colorado would have said someone's going to think there's something wrong with your house if you do that. But here in Utah, it seems to be pretty common. And it got me thinking, like, so let's say a house is $650, it's high, but it's kind of like the average around here right now. So if a house is $650 and you wait until they cut the price to $625, then you get in a bidding war and you end up paying more. What if you had just submitted like a bid for $640 right out of the gate, and you might have gotten that because people didn't want to wait and didn't want to have to lower the price. So we're thinking about salary negotiation, and negotiation comes in every part of our life. It just had me thinking, because we as a culture, especially in the US, have really gotten away from wanting to negotiate. If you notice a shift in car sales, right, almost every dealership now says no hassle pricing, which means you can't negotiate. But if we're losing that skill, there's obviously some pluses, but there may also be some downsides as we think about how we negotiate. And this particularly interesting to me, an article came across that you'll see in our newsletter this week about how people are hiring more and more freelancers and gig workers. And our freelancers and gig workers are going to have to understand how to negotiate for themselves to get a rate that they can live on, to get a rate where they can buy their own insurance, to do all those things that we have to do here in the US. But if there's more gig and freelance workers, our clients are going to need this skill of negotiation. And I've just noticed that it's something we tend to be steering away from. And there are, of course, some positives in that, some positives that people are putting out salary ranges and perhaps not negotiating salary as much as they used to. But as we lose that skill, there's also some downsides for us, and especially for people that are in a position to have to negotiate their pay as a freelancer or gig worker, or of course, if they're going to go into business for themselves. So just wanted to think about that, and we'll do some more on negotiation. I think it's a skill that we really need to learn for ourselves and learn as we move into a different way of working. So that's my quick update here as I sit in my emptied out house, and we will hopefully be more settled next week. Thank you all, and we'll see you next Tuesday.